While the Pokemon world might seem like a happy, generally uplifting place, there are multiple areas throughout its regions that are super creepy or even downright terrifying. Haunted houses, sunken ships, and even desolate, mysterious caves populate this world for trainers to explore. These spooky areas have kept with us since the moment we first played a Pokemon game, and that's why, for today's top 5, I wanted to count down my personal top 5 favorite creepy locations in Pokemon. A couple things worth noting before we get started. I'm only going to be choosing routes and locations from areas in the mainline Pokemon games, and not the anime, manga, or any of the spin-offs. So sorry, Maiden's Peak. The second thing is, as always, keep in mind that this list is entirely my opinion. I'm sure that I'm going to anger and upset people because of my picks, but honestly, many of these choices were really close and it was hard to narrow this list down to just 5. If I left off one of your favorites, feel free to share your own personal favorite creepy areas in the comments section below. Without further ado, let's jump right into number 5. Number 5. The Ruins of Alph. Even though the Johto region doesn't have a specific ghost-type area, that doesn't mean it's without a creepy location. While many people might disagree with me on this, the Ruins of Alph always felt like Johto's resident creepy place to me, even though it's not haunted and doesn't really have any ghost types in it. As the ominous music sets the tone, the player can explore the various ruins set out across the area. Strange markings are present everywhere you go, and what more, there's even an unusual radio wave your Pokégear can pick up on, which is supposedly the unseen unknown communicating with each other. If you explore these empty and abandoned ruins long enough, you'll eventually come across ancient puzzles that, once solved, will make unknowns start to fill the ruins. It's a little bit less spooky when you have Alphabet Soup attacking you constantly, but there's still a very uneasy feeling about the place. I think what makes it so creepy to me is that none of its mysteries are ever explained. You're never told what the relationship between the unknown and Ruins of Alph is, you're never told who made the ruins and for what purpose, it's just all so bizarre. It might not be the creepiest area in the Pokemon world, but to me I've always found these mysterious ruins to be slightly unsettling. Number 4. Route 14 in Kalos. Pokemon games rarely, if ever, have whole routes dedicated to a spooky visual theme, and one of these unique places, Route 14 in Kalos, was just creepy enough to make this list. Just north of Lumiose City, on the way to Laverre City, sits this Kalosian route. Rather than a nice sunny grass trail, which you might expect on the way to a fairy town, Route 14 takes a different approach. An abandoned playground, gravestones sinking into the earth, an empty, supposedly haunted house, and a dimly lit swamp awaits the player after leaving Lumiose's walls. All of this is very different when compared to the other Kalos routes, which are usually very bright and happy, and even the music lets you know that this is a very divergent and eerie area. My only gripe about this mysterious, allegedly haunted swamp is that there's not a lot of ghost-type Pokemon you can catch. Haunter is literally the only ghost type you can find in the swamp, which is awesome if not a little disappointing. Imagine if Phantump were found here and all the implications that would go along with that and the abandoned playground. Aside from that really small nitpick though, the atmosphere, the music, the abandoned house, and of course the Hex Maniacs make this one of my favorite creepy Pokemon locations. Number 3. The Old Chateau.
Deep in Sinnoh's Eterna Forest lies an abandoned mansion. Few know the story of what went on inside, but almost everyone knows that the place is haunted. This is the Old Chateau.
Dramatic openings aside, the Old Chateau is definitely one of the standout creepy areas in the Gen 4 games. From the exterior, it looks like an old abandoned mansion, but once you get inside, it's still an old rundown mansion, but there's definitely some paranormal activity going on. From paintings with glowing red eyes to the ghosts of both a little girl and a butler, this place has a very strange feeling that only gets worse the more you explore it. One of the common theories for why the Old Chateau is in disarray involves a Rotom accidentally killing the majority of people inside the house, which, if true, would definitely be a horrifying incident and would explain a lot of the eerie vibes the house gives off, as well as the, ghosts. While we only have theories and speculation as to the events that happen inside of it, just the ghost and overall peculiar feeling of this mansion makes it an ultra creepy place to visit and earned it a spot on my list. Number 2. The Strange House. At first glance, this place might seem like a copy of the Old Chateau, considering that this is another rundown house with a ghost, but I find the Strange House to be much, much creepier. The reason why is because there's a lot more mystery and spectral interaction in the Strange House than the Old Chateau. Throughout the player's visit to the house, they'll constantly encounter the ghost of a little girl who says very cryptic dialogue like, "An everlasting dark dream, an endless dream of darkness, and, in the dark dream, I heard my dad's voice." I mean, that's just, On top of that, there's numerous books in the basement that talk about all sorts of strange topics. Books on Hypno and Drowsy, Cresselia and Darkrai, and even one that talks about the move Dream Eater. It's all very mysterious and paints a very vague picture of what events possibly happened here. There's numerous theories on this place, but we're ultimately left in the dark about what truly happened. The tone of the house is so mysterious and so creepy that it's my absolute favorite haunted house in Pokemon and was so close to being my number 1 pick. Before we get to my number 1, let's take a look at a couple honorable mentions that didn't quite make it onto my list. Number 1. Lavender Town. I know it's a cliche to put Lavender Town at the top of creepy or horror lists, and I know it's a cliche to point out that it's a cliche, but really though, everything about this place just oozes creepiness, and it's probably been haunting many people's nightmares since 1996. Looking past all of the creepypastas and the horribly unsettling background music, the big reason that Lavender Town ended up on my list is the Pokemon Tower and all of the events surrounding it. I'm not sure who in the Pokemon world thought it would be a good idea to make a giant tower contain a bunch of Pokemon graves, but I think it was a bad idea. The abnormal activity inside is off the charts. Ghost types are running rampant, the ghost of a dead Marowak is tormenting visitors, and some of the people inside are even possessed. Say what you will about Pokemon being for kids or being too lighthearted, but just remember that creepy moments like this happened in Lavender Town. In my opinion, we really haven't seen anything quite as creepy as Lavender Town since it first debuted. I think that a lot of places get really close in terms of how spooky they are, but Lavender Town is still the king of creepy Pokemon locations for me. Anyways, this has been my list of the top 5 creepiest locations in Pokemon. Agree with my list, maybe you disagree. Feel free to share your favorite creepy areas throughout Pokemon in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.